You're listening to episode 41 of A Whole New You podcast. On today's show, Kim interviews Sarah Morgan, aka the Gene Queen, about the importance of probiotics. Sarah gives us an extremely thorough and educated explanation of the important role probiotics play in our overall health and in things like immunity, digestion, and skin and brain health. They also discuss Sarah's product, Buddies in My Belly, geared towards children, and its accompanying book by the same title, which helps kids understand the role of good germs or buddies. I learned so much from this interview, and it will absolutely change the way you perceive probiotics and your own gut health. Welcome to A Whole New You podcast. I'm your co-host, Kim Maravich. I'm a registered nurse and author of the book 360 Health. I'm joined by my dear friend, Lori Biddle, a health and wellness coach certified through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. Our show exists to inspire and empower women to take charge of their health with weekly tips and conversation about self-care, mindset, nutrition, fitness, and clean living. Please keep in mind that the material provided in this podcast is intended as general information only and should not be used as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. We're thrilled to have you here. Let's get to the show. Before we get to the interview, I would like to read a 5-star review that we received through iTunes. This is from Pamela Power, and it's titled Informative and Fun. Lori and Kim are genuinely caring and committed to providing quality information to help listeners live a healthier life. They come across as real women, giving real advice that's easy to digest and integrate. And they're both busy moms, so they get it. Thank you so much for taking the time to leave us this awesome review. Reviews help boost our rankings in iTunes, and they help people find our show who might not already know about it. So if you could head over to iTunes right now and leave us a rating and review, we'll be sure to read your review on a future episode. Now, let's get to the show. Today, I am pleased to have Sarah Morgan joining us on the podcast. Sarah Morgan, the Gene Queen, is known for her innovative ideas that connect science to everyday life in a way that impacts thousands. Albert Einstein's quote, "If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough," has inspired Sarah to write and communicate in a way that a 4-year-old or a 40-year-old will understand. Sarah is the founder and CEO of Buddies in My Belly, a health education company delivering serious science for serious health in a way that is seriously fun for the whole family. Sarah is a highly sought-after resource by the mainstream media, including Parents, Shape, Reader's Digest, and Huffington Post. She's also been featured as a guest on several of the top health podcasts and online health summits, and on the Dr. Nandi Show. Her podcast, Gene Queen, presents valuable health information to many. Sarah is married to her best friend and champion, Matt, and finds her inspiration from her daughter, Madison. Sarah earned her bachelor's degree in biology and chemistry from the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. She holds a Master of Science in Functional Nutrition from the University of Bridgeport. Well, welcome to the show, Sarah. That is an impressive resume.
Thanks so much, Kim. It's an honor to be on today.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to have been connected with you. So I did connect with Sarah through a mutual friend who suggested that I look her up as a possible guest. And I'm so glad I did because, Sarah, you're going to give us some invaluable information today, specifically about probiotics. And you're also really a modern day inventor of sorts and have created not only one, but numerous products geared towards children's and women's health. But before we get into the specifics of those products, I would love it if you could tell us a little bit more about yourself, your work, and how you got started in the health and wellness arena.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it kind of goes all the way back to when I was a little kid. I just remember I was always fascinated with the human body. I grew up in a family of healthcare professionals. I had a couple uncles who are cardiologists. My dad worked in the health and wellness field as well. He, at several points in his life, he was a echocardiogram technician, so doing ultrasounds of the heart. And then his brother would actually read the echoes as a cardiologist. So anyways, cool stuff. I got to watch a triple bypass surgery when I was in high school.
Wow.
I was planning on going to medical school. I had this path for myself. And in my undergrad degree, I remember I was like, I think I really want to make sure I'm differentiating my ideal, what I think it's going to be like, from the reality. So I actually got a job as a nursing assistant in a hospital associated with a Mayo Clinic in the Midwest where I grew up, and worked on a neuro, peds, and trauma floor. And I remember going to work and coming home from work crying a lot of different days. Just, it's kind of where I think a little of my holy discontent with a system that was treating symptoms and not really getting to the root developed. And I was like, I just really believe in the power of the body to heal. I believe in lifestyle, food, all these powerful tools we had. I loved going to the grocery store, even when I was little, like looking at all the different things that were there, and always really interested in them. And so, yeah, I think that's where a lot of my journey started. I actually found my path actually through a lot of no's. And I think I don't know, I like sharing that because I think sometimes that's life, right? Like we kind of get a lot of no's, or like, nope, that's not it. Nope, that's not it. We try a lot of different things and we navigate our way. So yeah, I eventually found a master's program that was really teaching the kind of information I wanted to learn, a lot of biochemistry, a lot of the, really geeky stuff. Jumped in, I've worked in a clinical practice for, the last 13 years, helping all kinds of different people with health issues. And recently, in about the last year, transitioned to really focus on building some of my companies that I've developed to really help improve people's lives in a lot of different ways.
Well, you're speaking our language on this podcast because as I was mentioning to you off the air, I'm a registered nurse in background, but was also very disillusioned with the sick care in the traditional medical space. Not that there's not a role for it, because there certainly is. But I think getting to the root cause of so many conditions we have can solve a lot of problems, and so that we don't need that sick care afterwards. So I commend you for that. And I also wanted to point out that I love that you said that that you went through a lot of no's first. I think that's how we find our path in life, is just that we find our alignment through knowing what doesn't jive with us and the things that, aren't going to fulfill us. When we find those no's, it can seem kind of defeating, but that can also gear us and steer us towards the right direction and our calling in life. So I think that's just amazing that you said that.
I always say this too. I say, don't waste the pain.
Yes. Oh, I love
Like,
that.
we always experience pain in different ways, but I think if you can say, like, there's something about this that I don't like, right? It's like, well, what is it? And let it be a teacher to you, right? To direct you in the right way.
That's a great quote. I really like that. So Sarah, you're really, as I mentioned in the intro, you're really a modern day inventor of some great products. So I'd like to start, if you don't mind, talking about Buddies in My Belly, because that is the first product that I heard of that you had created, which is fascinating because I also have 2 little boys and I know that it's geared towards children. But can you tell us the story about why you developed it?
Yeah, I'd love to. I would say, so I'm a mom. I have a daughter, and I remember, when my daughter was about 2.5 years old, looking at her, and I really began to imagine what it would be like if she not only understood important concepts about her health, but she was able to actively participate in her health. And I think as moms, as parents, there's so much we want to give our kids the best. We feed them the best foods, we keep them healthy. But sometimes it's really exhausting and, trying to figure those things out and like always be, leading the charge. Right. And sometimes I think it just kind of feels like we're nagging as moms, to our kids. And I don't know, maybe, you're the only person in your home that's really trying to be healthy, for people listening, and you have those values and it can feel lonely. So for me, it was like, how do we get the whole family to be engaged in healthy living, healthy eating, and how do we make it fun? Because, for me, I've worked in the health and wellness field for, again, like 13, 14 years now. And the thing that I saw missing was like, man, we're just not connecting the dots in a way that it's sticky, it's engaging, it's fun for everybody. So anyways, that took me on this adventure of creativity. I was learning about the microbiome, and, science has really advanced us to learning all kinds of really cool things. And something we've discovered about human health that is crucially important to our existence and our well-being long term are these healthy probiotic bacteria that live in our digestive tract. So about 2 to 4 pounds of who we are the bacteria that live mostly in our digestive tract. And they've really found that they regulate a lot of human health, and they play a crucial role in immune system function, our brain health, heart health, our lungs, digestion, absorption of nutrients, excretion of waste, even tolerance of things in our environment. If we think about allergies, that kind of stuff. So, I'm learning all this really cool stuff in my master's program in clinical practice. I love to dig and read the research. And I'm like, okay, we have this super cool thing that exists in us. Like, we can actually, shape our microbiome, and we can impact it by what we eat and our environment and all these things. And I'm like, okay, I'm looking at my daughter in my living room one night. And I'm like, how would I explain this to her?
Mm.
And I'm like sitting there, and, you just kind of have these moments in life for me that are, to me, very divinely inspired. And I was like, okay, these probiotics, they really are our buddies, and most of them live in our belly. And I'm like, buddies in my belly. So I started, talking to my daughter about it, my husband, my clients in my clinical practice at the time, friends, and everybody's like, this is so awesome. Like, I love it. I get it. I want to talk about the buddies. So I knew I was really onto something that, really connected the dots for people. And from there, it was really this adventure of creativity, finding an illustrator, because I'm like, I want to make this a story. Story is what really impacts us, and it impacts kids. Like, if we look at just how their brains work and how we really capture their imagination. So I found my creative director and illustrator, and he's an artist, and his name is Henry Daniel Bell. I call him Danny. And I was like, hey, Danny, are you up for the challenge of making bacteria cute and cool? And he's like, let's do it. So we took about 1.5 years to storyboard, to create these little characters, the bacteria that are characters. They're Lacti, Biffy, Strepy, and Bacilli in the book. And, they have big scientific names like Bifidobacterium, Lactobacillus, Streptococcus. And we just made it fun. We storyboarded out. We kept the science serious, and, connected in a way that just became seriously fun. And, if we think about the more serious side of things, and we look at childhood in America, we really actually do have a big problem to solve when it comes to children's health. So that's the other thing that was really driving me. 1 in 3 kids now are overweight. 1 in 6 have learning disabilities. 1 in 9 have asthma. 1 in 10 ADHD. 1 in 12 food allergies. 1 in 20 seizures. And now the newest statistics from the CDC are 1 in 36 children are being diagnosed with autism.
Mm.
So half of our kids are, either overweight or they have a chronic illness. And by 2025, which, let's think about it, it's like almost 2020, like that's just around the corner, 80% of our children will have a chronic illness that impacts the rest of their life. And that's just it's very sobering. And, for me, I looked at that, and I'm like, I'm not willing to settle for that being our new reality. We can do better, and we must do better. And so Buddies was also created to be a health education company that families can use. We have all kinds of resources and tools that we can talk about today that really empowers the family unit, starting with the kids, to live a healthier life, where we can truly turn around these statistics just with impacting the buddies that live in our belly or our microbiome positively.
I love that you call them buddies, because I think in the past I've probably said to my boys that there are like bacteria, living in
Uh-huh.
their digestive tracts, and then they associate that with like an ear infection or a sore throat or something.
Yes.
And
Yep.
so to clarify that these are actually good for us, and that they
Mhm.
are alive, like that our bodies are alive, and there are actually things that are working, inside of us, and that we need to to feed these buddies, with food, because I've heard you say, on your podcast also, that food first always,
Yes.
that, we have to feed our bodies with great food first. But then also helping to support them through, probiotics is extremely important. And, just having kids of my own, and like you said something that really stood out to me, and just how we feel like sometimes we're nagging,
Mm-hmm.
because I do feel that way, like, why can't you just eat these strawberries?
Yeah.
They're delicious. Just eat some, please. Just trying to get them. And I don't want to create any kind of like food phobia around my
Mm-hmm.
kids, but I think when they can take ownership in their food choices and understand why. It's not just because mom is telling me that I need to eat this or take this supplement or take this vitamin. There's a reason behind it. So I do want to get to, in a few minutes, talking more specifically about not only just your product in general, but also, like you said, it's a health community. And I know you've written a book. As you mentioned, you have an illustrator. So I do want to talk a little bit more specifically about that. But just, because some of our listeners may not have children yet, or they are, older and their children are grown, I want to talk for a moment about why probiotics are just so essential for all of us, not just kids, but for all of us. So, I know that there are reasons why we might take probiotics for other body systems, not just, digestive health is a big one, but for immunity and brain health. So, could you speak to some of the reasons why probiotics would be great for all of us to be?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with, I always love defining terms. So people, if you're new to hearing this or learning about this, we can really give you a great foundation. So prebiotics are the food for the buddies that live in your belly. So those would be things like different types of fibers, and then polyphenols, which are the colors and all of the plant foods that we consume. So prebiotics are really important to feed your probiotics, and probiotics are actually the live beneficial bacteria. And there's actually some viruses and yeast and different things that also live in our digestive tract that are kind of this happy little community that do a lot of really cool things for us that we'll dive into. And then there's postbiotics. So postbiotics are actually what the healthy bacteria and actually the bad germs make postbiotics too. But those are substances that kind of are signaling molecules that have an impact on our human health directly. So when we think about probiotics and taking probiotics, the first thing I would say is what you brought up before. You can never supplement yourself into good health.
Mm.
Supplements are meant to be supplemental to a foundational healthy lifestyle. And that includes food, that includes good sleep, it includes drinking water that's purified and clean. It involves movement and being outside. It also involves being in community and laughing and finding your purpose, right? Those are all foundational aspects of our health. So you can never swallow a pill and expect it to fix everything, right? It's got
Right.
to be in addition to all of these other foundational things. So that's actually a big part of even the book. What we're conveying is you've got to feed the buddies and take care of the buddies. And then you can take buddies too, which is really great and beneficial. But all those other things that you're doing in terms of the foundational lifestyle aspects are also positively impacting the buddies that live in your belly, your microbiome. So when we think about that, what does the research show? So basically think about your microbiome, AKA the buddies, as an organ, literally regulating all these really important functions in your system. So one of them is the immune system. And, our immune system is a really important part of our body that not only fights off, foreign invaders. We talk about that in the book with the bad germs, that we get exposed to. But our immune system also keeps cell growth in check, right? And with things like cancer. So we want to flag these rogue cells that maybe are growing or dysfunctional, and we kind of blow them up, right? So that they're not a problem for us. But our immune system function, a lot of it, there's a partnership with our gut. I won't say it's like all of our immune system function. People say like 60 to 80% of immune system function exists in the gut. It's like, well, it's a partnership. But one of the things that we do with the good bacteria that lives in our digestive tract is we just crowd out the bad germs. That's literally one of the things that happens. It's like our monopoly board, is like full of we've got the good real estate, we're not letting any of that good real estate go to, it's like a bad germ that could populate and kind of take over. And there's also a balance of inflammatory response with the immune system that the buddies really control. And this actually starts when a baby is born. So the development of the immune system function begins right away. And what we found is in babies, as the buddies develop, one of the first buddies in a baby's belly is Biffy, the little character Bifidobacterium, and lactobacillus, or lacti in our book. And these bacteria actually send signals to what are called macrophages, which are part of the immune system. And they teach these immune cells good manners, is what I like to say. It's like you hug and you shake hands and you don't, no hitting or biting. It's like all the things we teach our kids, right? The buddies are teaching our immune system how to function. And all these immune cells live in every tissue of our body. And we know that if the microbiome, these buddies can teach the immune system good manners, we can develop a balanced immune system that isn't prone towards, environmental allergies, food allergies, all these things that we see in overactive immune response, like dermatitis, eczema, asthma, all these different allergies. There's kind of this inflammatory snowball that can occur with children as they go through childhood. And pediatricians are very well versed in this. And we can actually halt that by having good buddies, like literally from the moment those babies are born, and setting that up. So that's a big thing. Immune system, digestive health. So just even like motility, how well our food and waste moves through our intestinal tract. Our probiotics play a really big role in that. And actually, an interesting fact is half of your fecal weight is buddies.
Wow.
Yeah. So, when Biffy is the buddy in the book that helps us make a perfect poop. And, it's really great because kids need to learn about that. And it's a fun way for them to talk about their bathroom habits and to, know if hey, is Biffy doing a good job or not, right? Like we actually have a Biffy's poop chart so kids can kind of track things and parents can talk about it. And if you're an adult, this is important for you to look at as well. But the buddies actually make different digestive enzymes. They actually make vitamins, which is super cool, that play a huge role in even our nutrient levels that we have in our bloodstream. And digestive health, there's $100 billion a year that Americans spend on digestive problems. 70 million Americans are impacted. So just focusing on let's get some good, healthy buddies in your life can impact your health tremendously. And you asked about brain too. I want to throw that in there. So we have a freeway system between our digestive tract and our brain. And that freeway is our vagus nerve. And our the buddies make all kinds of these cool post-biotics, or these different substances that travel directly to the brain and have an impact on our mood, our functionality. So we know people who are depressed or anxious, there's some really great research now that if we focus on making sure that person has good buddies that live in their belly, we kind of give the bad germs an eviction notice, it will improve their mood. A lot of people have dramatic improvements in depression, anxiety, even the ability to sleep, get into a good sleep cycle. We know that the buddies play a huge role in that with some of the different neurotransmitters that they make, like GABA. GABAs are, I'm just calm, I'm just chill, that's really important. So yeah, they're really important for brain health. even skin, which is a big one I'll mention for adults, because I think there's just so many adults that are struggling with their skin health. And our skin is such a reflection of what's happening inside in terms of our gut. And this happens in babies and children. So when we see like these little patches of, psoriasis, eczema, whatever it is that pops up, the first thing I want you to think about is like, oh, what's going on with my buddies inside that's maybe impacting our skin. And then weight. This is a big one. And it's not only a big one for adults, but it's a big one for kids. So just a really quick, interesting fact. They took these sterile mice and they gave them the bad germs, and these mice gained weight. And then if they took these sterile mice and they gave them the good buddies, they remained at a really great weight. They had a great metabolism, good function. So, this is something that's really important when we think about weight and all those different signals that are being sent of, how we maintain a good weight over the course of our life, even starting in childhood, has a lot to do with, hey, do you have good buddies in your belly? So those are some of the things. I don't know if I covered enough of them. I'm happy to share as many details as you want. I could talk all day about this.
No, you absolutely did. I think that that's really important to know. And I don't think the majority of people understand. I mean, I think we associate probiotics with, like you said, good digestive health and motility, but that it can really do everything from, skin integrity to immunity and affecting even our mood. I think that's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed just looking at your website that on your buddies in my belly website, the products that you have include, you have a children's probiotic powder, a kid's chewable, but you also have one that is called Be Calm, and it's a probiotic for your mood. And I think, does it contain the GABA, or it contains the bacteria that form GABA in our bodies?
That's right. Yep. So it's got bifidobacterium. That formula is about 80% bifidobacterium, and there are certain strains of bacteria that have shown to be really great GABA producers. And so we have that in there. And then we have some lactobacillus or lacti, a certain strain that has been shown to make acetylcholine, which is another neurotransmitter that is used by your brain stem to get into good REM sleep at night, which is that restorative, we want to cycle through REM, which is kind of a lighter sleep, into that deeper sleep. And that's really how our brains and our bodies repair themselves while we sleep at night.
I really like that, and I think I'm going to look into that. My son, I often give him melatonin prior to bed, just to help him. It kind of like just helps take the edge off, helps him to calm down so that he can fall asleep. But he does wake up during the night, so I'm wondering if that could be helpful for him as well. So I think I'm going to look into that.
Yeah, and vitamin D and some of the B vitamins are used by the brain to maintain a really good sleep cycle. So what's really interesting is bifidobacterium strains that we have in our products also make a lot of those B vitamins. And then our children's powder, we called it a children's powder because we kind of had to. It's more like an infant powder. It's really great to use in young kids, and it's actually got some vitamin D in it. One, because babies need vitamin D, but two, it actually plays a really great role, not only in like bone development, immune system function, but also sleep cycle, which is really big even for babies, as our brains are kind of figuring out how they do that well.
Oh, parents need that for sure.
Right? Yes, they do. All of us.
I was one of those moms that was up for probably 5 years straight with my two boys several times a night. So,
and if your kids aren't sleeping well, think about their buddies, because if you don't have enough GABA production and some of those B vitamins, and your kids tip more on the other side of it, it's kind of like we have a gas pedal and a brake, and the brake is GABA, right? It's the calmer. The gas pedal is glutamate, and it's and it's where your brain can't shut off. And this is adults too. You lay down at night and it's like your brain's still going. It's like, I had a lady who's like, I feel like I just have monkeys jumping around in my head at night, and I was like, I guess that's a glutamate brain. But we have to try to balance that, right, between those two sides. And that's where a really cool, modality to try is impacting it through these taking some probiotics that make these postbiotics, these substances that can calm the brain down.
That is fascinating. And I had never heard of this before. So I'm just thrilled to be learning about this. Now, we'd like to take a minute to give a shout out to our show partners, Perfect Supplements and Amazon. Perfect Supplements is a family owned and operated business that supports local farms. Their superfoods and supplements are non GMO, third party tested for purity, and contain no synthetic ingredients, colors, or flavors. They're also organic or wild harvested and fairly traded. Products range from collagen and bone broth powders to plant proteins, greens, desiccated liver, and adaptogenic herbs. Perfect also carries vitamins and supplements from other reputable sources like Just Thrive, Dr. Mercola, Gaia Herbs, Green Pastures, Garden of Life, and Prescript Assist. To check out their wide array of products, go to perfectsupplements.com/Kim. If you use coupon code KIM10 at checkout, you'll get 10% off your order. This is a great way to get superfood nutrition while helping to support our podcast. And just as a disclaimer, it's not the intention of our podcast to provide specific medical advice, but rather to provide you with information to better understand the role of dietary supplements in health. We urge you to consult with a qualified health provider to discuss both the advantages and risks of using dietary supplements. Our other show partner, Amazon, is the largest online warehouse and carries just about everything you need. If you shop on Amazon, which is likely, you can support our show at the same time at no additional cost to you. Simply use our affiliate link to enter the site, then browse and buy, just as you normally would. A Whole New You podcast will make a small commission from your purchase, which helps to support production costs for the show. You can find a clickable Amazon link in the show notes for this episode. You can also go to the products page of our website, awholenewyouPodcast.com, to find the link. If you love our show and appreciate the free information you get each week, please consider buying from Perfect or using our affiliate link when making purchases on Amazon. Now let's get back to the show. One of the other things that you do have on your website that you talked about is your book, and it's geared towards children. You did mention some of the characters, but would you go through them again and just kind of point out the main characters in your book and sort of how you explain to children through these characters about the bacteria?
Yeah,
Or the buddies.
absolutely. Yeah, the buddies. Yeah. So, and it's so fun. We've been doing a lot of readings in the schools. Like we go in and we do a buddies event. And so, one thing that's really fun, I always start with parents and the kids when I go in. I'm like, how many of you have a brain? And they raise their hand. How many you have a heart? And they raise their hand. And I'm like, well, today you're going to learn about something that probably your parents don't even know about, and your siblings and your friends. Are you guys ready to learn something cool about your body? And they're like, yeah. So I say, like, you have buddies that live in your belly. And I don't mind. I can maybe read like a page or two of the book just to give people kind of an idea of how it flows. But there's a little girl named Ruby. She's the character in the book. And it starts off saying, "Hi, I'm Ruby. I want to tell you a story about the itsy bitsy buddies that live in my belly. The buddies are my friends. They are called probiotics, and they are microscopic. That means they are teeny tiny, smaller than a grain of sand." And Ruby is pointing to a little chalkboard that kind of shows like, her belly zoomed in and the little buddies are in there. And the buddies, as you said, are Lacti, Biffy, Strepi, and Bacilli. Those are the 4 buddies, and they stand for Lactobacillus, Bifidobacterium, Streptococcus, and different kinds of bacillus bacteria. And all the buddies in the book, we introduce them. For example, I'll read a couple if that's okay.
Sure, absolutely.
It says, "This is Lacti. She's my favorite buddy for helping me digest my food. Lettuce and leeks and pickles and beets are a few of the things Lacti loves to eat. When I feed Lacti her favorite foods, she gives me energy and keeps me in a good mood. This is Biffy. He's my favorite buddy to help me go poop." And I always pause, when I'm reading this for the kids, and some of them are like, they're totally quiet, and the other ones are like, funny. Bananas and broccoli and berries and beans are a few of Biffy's favorite things. When I feed Biffy his favorite food, he helps me make a perfect poop, and sometimes he even makes me toot. Oh, Biffy. So we make it really fun. So we talk through the different characters. Streppy is, we talk a lot about earaches, sore throats, stuffy noses, and cavities. And really cool. Actually, my daughter is going to the dentist this afternoon to do a cleaning. And she goes, Mommy, can I bring Streppy with me to the dentist?
So
and I was
cute.
like, absolutely. So there's good streptococcus that actually can keep strep throat from, or, the bacteria that causes strep throat from colonizing in the throat. And they've actually been shown our oral microbiome, the buddies in our mouth, has a really big role on cavities. So if you have kids, or, you as an adult are getting a lot of cavities, one of the things I say is you might have more bad germs than buddies that are in your belly. And then Basili is our last guy. He's actually got my favorite scene. I'd love to read this scene to you if you don't mind.
Sure.
When Basili eats his favorite food, he gets in a superhero mood. Bad germs don't stand a chance against Basili's superhero stance. Hi-ya! And, when we're reading it to the kids, and just, when you're a parent reading this, I'm like, show me your best superhero stance,
Awesome.
So the boys love that when he's in a little cape, and, you see the little bad germs like E. coli and MRSA and C. diff, we keep it, they're all labeled, the little bad germs are getting beat up, in the scene. So, those are the buddies and some of the things they do for us. So we're really connecting things like, okay, when you don't feel good, like when you're sick, or, things like I'm going to the dentist and I'm having my teeth cleaned and cavities, or my nose is stuffy and runny, or I have an earache, that kids start to think about their buddies, right? Or like their energy levels and how their tummies feel when they are, eating and digesting food. It's like, wait, okay, the buddies that live in my belly like actually help me digest my food. So if I'm not feeling so good when I eat, maybe I ate something that wasn't good for the buddies. Like I just ate a bunch of sugar and now I just fed the bad germs. So there's so many teachable moments that the book and our brand creates, and we've got all these cool resources that I'm happy to talk about that kind of just make that conversation so natural, where you get your kids thinking about it, and then they're kind of like, whoa, now I'm, you see their wheels turn, like now I'm motivated to kind of start thinking about doing this on my own.
Sure. Yeah. And if you want to touch on some of those resources, go ahead. I was just going to interject and say, just in looking, I would encourage everyone to go to buddiesinmybelly.com, because you can even see like the cute little illustrations of Lacti, Biffy, Streppy, and Basili. They're really adorable.
Thanks.
Yeah. So that's really adorable. Is there anything else you wanted to mention about resources in regard to buddies?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have, a big passion of ours is education. So we have all kinds of free resources on our website. We've got a Buddies in My Belly food plate. So it's such a cool thing to like show your kids, hey, at mealtime, this is what our plate should look like in a way that's going to feed the buddies really well. We've got like snack sheets. So you can even look at it with your kids, like, hey, here's some really great snacks for the buddies. Which ones do we want to pick out? And for parents, we also created a shopping list. So you can like go through the grocery store faster to grab all that stuff. We have a E-cookbook that you can actually email us, and we'll send it to you so you can have that. It's just simple recipes for your complex life is the subtitle. That was more for me because I'm like, I'm a realist of like, hey, I want to eat healthy, but it's got to be quick and easy. So and taste good for kids. So we have that.
Amen.
Yeah, right. We have how to take care of your buddies. So there's a little chart of like what helps the buddies and what hurts the buddies, which is such a cool thing to talk through with your kids. I mentioned the Biffy's poop chart, so it's like the perfect poop, what happens when it's not the perfect poop, and kids can really like, I mean, it's cool to even print it off and like put it in your bathroom, your kid's bathroom, and
Mm.
let them like, hey, how's Biffy doing? Like it's just such a cool thing. Like my daughter would be like, Mommy, Biffy's been really good lately. I think he's doing really well. I've been feeding him well, it's like, it's awesome for them to connect the dots on that. Or, as we come into cold and flu season and we're talking about why do we wash our hands, right? To connect those dots, like, hey, we've got to wash off all the bad germs, because if we stick that in our nose or in our mouth and we, eat some of those bad germs, they might kind of, like cause these different issues, whatever it is that you want to talk about with your kids. And if your buddies aren't healthy enough to fight them off, this is what could happen. So yeah, I'm not sure if I'm covering all the things we have. We even have like how to pick out a probiotic guide. There's all kinds of cool stuff. And if you want that and you don't see it or you can't find it, you can always email us. It's just info@buddiesinmybelly.com, and we can send you all those free resources. So it's about just having a conversation that becomes part of your lifestyle as a family.
I love it. So if people wanted to find those free resources, they can just go to buddiesinmybelly.com.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Well, before I let you go, you are, like I said, an inventor, and you've also created 2 other lines of products geared towards women, and that could be a whole other show in and of itself. But while you're here, I wanted you to touch on that, and I wanted you to. I know it might be hard to do it briefly, and it doesn't have to be very short, but if you could explain to us some of the other lines that you have created and some of the products. Because our listeners range primarily women, but range in age from 20s through 70s and beyond. So I'd love to know about some of these other products you've created with women in mind.
Yeah, I'll go over them really quick. So I have 2 companies. The first one is Vitamin IQ, and that was just kind of created from this place of being in clinical practice for 13 years, and obviously using supplements with so many people. I'm like, I want to make better formulas. So I have a women's and a men's multi that I created. A women's prenatal that actually is updated with the latest FDA guidelines that were updated in November of 2018. So a lot of supplements that are on the market aren't really following what women really need in pregnancy as they're prepping for pregnancy and while they're nursing as well. We have something called mommy brain, because hands up, I went through mommy brain as well. It's like, where are my keys? And I can't remember where my phone is. While I'm talking on my phone, I'm looking for my phone. I put the milk in the pantry and I find, the cereal box in the fridge, like all these things we, confuse. And there's actually really a physiological reason why mommy brain happens. We have a fertility enhancer, and we have a lactation support. So it's really things that I saw were needed, right, for women, specifically, that I wanted to support. So that's Vitamin IQ. You can find it on Amazon. Is the best place. VitaminIQ.com is our website. And then my other company that I recently launched, I've been working on for about 3 years now, and we finally gone to market, is Even. And we exist to minimize the side effects of medications. So, modern medicine is awesome. It's provided us so many different advancements. But when we take medications, individuals have unique nutrient needs, and they actually deplete certain nutrients. Some nutrients actually go up when you're on medications as well. But a lot of those nutrient depletions can cause these common side effects people experience. So I looked at this, and it really started from a personal story of I went on birth control. Like I just felt off, weird, and I remember talking to so many of my friends. I had one woman come up to me and she's like, Sarah, I got on the pill because I don't want to get pregnant. And while I'm on the pill, I don't want to have sex. Like, how ironic is that? And it's like, that's not fair, right? For women to kind of take the hit on that side of things. So I started digging, and this is kind of where the whole concept came up. It's like, wow, even the World Health Organization has a statement that hormonal birth control depletes the body of key nutrients, and supplementation should be considered a first line approach to balance the body. And, that's where the other pill, your birth control's companion, came to be. And we also have statin support for cholesterol lowering medications. And we're about to launch our next 3 products that are, companions that you take along with your prescription medication to minimize side effects. So that's what I've been up to. That company is evenhealthco.com, evenhealthco.com. You can get some more information if that's like, oh, that sounds interesting to you. So that's what I've been up to of the things that I can actually disclose and talk about.
Yeah, I know you have lots in the works, Sarah. That is so impressive. And you've really covered the gamut of just everything that people might need. And I think that I just really love, as a nurse and seeing side effects of medications over time from, patients that I've dealt with. It is so important to support not only our immune system, but to make sure that we're supplementing to offset those nutrient depletions like you mentioned, because every prescription med depletes nutrients in some way. So that's really
Mhm.
fascinating.
Yeah.
And the other pill, that's one for our listeners too, that, because I know that we do have people in the childbearing years and who
Mhm.
are on the pill, and that would be a great one to incorporate, into your life as well. So just very impressed, Sarah. I'm going to have all of your websites in the show notes. There'll be active links for all of your products and your websites. If people wanted to connect with you, what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, great question. I would say check me out. Say hi on social media. I am at the Gene Queen. It's underscore, so it's on Instagram. It's the underscore gene, not as in jeans you wear, but genetics underscore queen. So look me up there. Say hi. Same thing for Facebook. And the other best way to reach me is I'll actually share my personal email, which I don't do very often, but it's Sarah with an H at evenhealthco.com. So that's the company that we're minimizing side effects of meds. So if you have any questions that way, you can always reach out to me. So that'd be the best way to reach me.
All right. Thank you, Sarah, for being on the show. I've learned so much, and I know that this will be a great episode for our listeners too.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That's it for today. For more from Kim, you can go to kimmaravich.com. For more from Lori, go to simplympoweredllc.com. We're always open to listener questions or suggestions for the show. You can email those to contact@awholenewyou.podcast.com. We'd also love it if you joined our Facebook community and followed us on Instagram. Just search for A Whole New You Podcast. And lastly, if you'd be so kind as to leave us a rating and review in iTunes, we would really appreciate that so more people can find our show and join our community. We'll see you next week.